Hi everyone, it's another interview today with Jesse Iwuji, and this is a chap, right? He went from college football to joining the Navy and then decided to be a race driver. We're going to discuss how he did it, the mindset needed, and how he got sponsorship to go racing. And he's not even young either. So all them people that are worrying about age, this guy was 26 when he started to be a race driver. He decided to be. So I think you'll take a lot from this. Enjoy.
Ain't afraid to bare my soul, ain't afraid to walk on coals. I ain't gonna tell no lies, I ain't gonna apologize. Can't stop me now, can't stop me now. I'm just doing what I do.
Jesse, welcome to the Race Driver Coach Show. It's great to have you along, and I think there's going to be quite a few drivers out there that won't even know about you because everyone's so F1. Everyone's so F1 and IndyCar. It's great to get somebody who's walking your path and with your story. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show.
There's going to be a lot of drivers that can take a lot from this. So this will be great. So just to start off, tell us your story.
Yeah. A quick background on my story. So, originally both of my parents are from Nigeria. They moved from Nigeria to the U.S. back in the 80s. They had me and my two brothers and my sister in Texas. That's where they decided to reside. And in Texas, for those who don't know, high school football, American football is the biggest thing in Texas. So, it was that was my passion when I, back in my younger years, was just playing football. And I wanted to go off to college and play college football. It was a great opportunity in all different ways. Ended up taking that opportunity and went to Naval Academy, got there 2006. Played football there all 4 years, ran track there all 4 years, and then graduated in 2010 and became a surface warfare officer in the Navy. During that time, when I would have free time back home in San Diego, I would do track days with my personal cars. So for these track days, I would take my personal cars to road course tracks, drag strips. I would have fun doing that. And after a few years of doing that, I finally just made the decision that I wanted to go after professional racing. I decided that I like track days. I like taking my cars to track, but why not try to do this at the highest level possible? Yep. So in 2014, I was sitting in my room one night and just made a decision that, you know what, I'm going to become a professional race car driver. I had never raced prior to that. I had never amateur raced prior to that. I'd done track days where it's, time trials, but I've never actually wheel to wheel raced. So I decided at age 26 that I was going to just go make this happen. And most people would say that it's not possible. In fact, when I got on the internet right after I made that decision, I was like, I'm going to research how to become a race car driver.
Yeah.
And what you see online is everyone's going to tell you, you can't do it unless you started when you're 5 or 6 years old karting. You can't do it unless you come from a rich family. You can't do it unless you come from a racing family. You can't do it because of this, and that. So I decided, hey, I'm going to basically put all my energy into figuring out how do I find the funding to even race. The first thing that came up in my mind was, race car drivers have sponsors. Why don't I go after sponsors to race? And then quickly found out that a lot of people don't want to support your dream if you haven't even made anything of it to begin with. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to let that derail me. There's other ways to make money. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to take the entrepreneurial route. I'm going to start my own business on the side. Any money I make from that, any profit I make from that, I'll turn that right back into or drive that right back into my racing goal and be able to basically support myself until I can find the sponsorship necessary to make it even bigger. And that is the gist of my journey.
Jeez, mate. It's unbelievable. Where do I start? To try and pick that apart. I think it starts off with a kid with a dream, and you obviously, I don't know what the next thing, maybe going to be an astronaut next, who knows? But it's basically I'm
going to be in some big blockbuster films. That's the next goal after racing. About 10 years from now, the goal is to go into Hollywood, be on some big films, and do all.
Man. You only get one life, right? And you can see you are living it. And actually, if you just follow the path of what you would have been like when you were a kid, and you wanted to play football, and then you go to the Navy, it's a certain mindset. The activity, obviously, they all share certain things. They've all got certain values or qualities within these careers that you've done so far that pull a heartstring with you, and they just tick all the boxes. And you can see there is with the Navy, with football and motorsport, you can see a very distinct connection. But to do all three and to do them pretty damn well, even though they all take different skills, what would you say? Let's just go from Navy to motorsport. What would you say mindset wise is a good crossover? So what did you learn in the Navy that helps you in racing, basically?
Yeah, so anytime you're going after any big goals, any big dreams, mindset is the key thing. A lot of people reach out to me every single week on, hey, what steps do I need to take to get into racing? How do I become a race car driver? How do I start my own business? How do I this? How do I that? And I tell people, hey, yeah, I can write out like a step-by-step thing you can do. I can tell you, hey, go here, do this, go here, do that, do this, do this, do that, and then kind of help you along. But at the end of the day, none of that stuff matters unless you have the mindset to get there. Anytime you're trying to take your life from one point to another that's higher, to a higher point than you've ever been in life, it's going to be hard, it's going to be stressful, but you have to get your mind in a place where it's ridiculously dangerous. And when I say dangerous, your mindset can get into a dangerous place where you can be effective anywhere you go. When you finally learn that, hey, when you're willing to put everything on the line and it does not matter to you if you lose it, you're willing to push that far, you're willing to grind every single day, you're willing to put actionable steps towards this goal every single day, throw everything into it and understand and have faith that your vision will come true. When you're willing to get into that kind of space, when you're willing to get your mindset into that kind of thinking, it's going to help you get to the next level. And so for some people, they're like, oh, okay, well, whatever. That kind of sounds cliche, put your mind to it and you can make it happen.
True.
It's true. Exactly. Yeah. It's not cliche for no reason. It is absolutely true. I've realized these last 5 years, I've only been racing 5 years now, and I'm at the second highest level of NASCAR now. It was all mindset. There was nothing else. I mean, I didn't come for money. There's nothing lucky about any of this. Anyone can do this as long as your mind's in the right place. You got to get your mind in a place where you're willing to put it all on the line, but you have complete faith and an obsessive and insane belief that you will make it happen, especially if when you put it all in, it doesn't work. Because guess what? That's what's going to happen. You're going to throw it all in and it's not going to work at first. It might not work the second time, might not work the third, the fourth, or the fifth time. But when you obsessively believe that you can make it happen, you're willing to be creative and go outside of the box in any kind of way possible to keep on trying to make this happen, it will come true. It's all about who stays strong enough, long enough.
That's it, mate. And you're proving it. You're proving it. So what's training for the Navy like to get in?
Training with the Navy, that's helped me a lot. A lot of things I've learned in the Navy have actually translated over to the motorsport side. Physical fitness side, obviously we got to stay in shape in the Navy. Everything we do is physical, and we got to make sure that we're in shape to be able to handle it, all the stresses and strains. Mm-hmm. And then, a lot of things I've learned in the Navy as far as like communication. When you're on a ship, you're doing bridge-to-bridge communication between you and other ships and vessels nearby. You have to be able to speak coherently. You have to be able to speak quick, and you got to know how to make decisions on your feet because you're literally on your feet making it happen and not hit other ships. All that communication skills that I've learned through that, I've actually translated over to the NASCAR world. Being able to present myself in a professional manner, I learned that in the Navy. That's helped me a lot on this sponsorship hunt. When I get in front of companies and I speak to them about supporting this journey, supporting this ride, supporting everything we're doing, being able to present myself in a professional manner so that they know that their ambassador that they're about to invest in is a professional and can actually represent their brand and not, embarrass the brand. That's big. And I learned that in the Navy because you are an ambassador of not just the military, but the entire United States of America. So a lot of things I've been able to translate from the Navy and the military over to racing in NASCAR.
Yeah, two things strike me there. It's when you're pitching for anything, you're selling your latest widget or whatever to investors, to angels, or you're going for sponsorship. They look at you as a person and, okay, what you're offering is pretty good, but they invest in the jockey, not so much the horse sometimes, but the actual person that's bringing it. If they believe in you, they obviously think, well, quite often they think, well, if this idea is not the one and it doesn't quite take off like he thinks it is, his next idea, I'm sure, is going to be good. So they really do. And if you've got enthusiasm, which a lot of drivers haven't, a lot of drivers are going into that boardroom absolutely shitting themselves. And it's like, but they haven't got much to offer either. They haven't done their homework on the company, and they just say a sticker on the car sort of thing. So they know it's flawed.
Yeah, so that's the biggest thing when drivers go in. So that's some of the biggest misconceptions about going in for sponsorship that I've seen is a lot of people think, okay, I'm a good race car driver. I can go win races, win championships, all that stuff. And that's all that should matter for the sponsor. Just remember that these companies that are investing in you, I mean, some of them will be ran by people who just love racing. So their whole goal is, hey, I want to just be seen in victory lane. Cool.
Yep.
Their companies are out there like that. Yes.
Yep.
The majority of the ones, especially when you're going to look for guys and girls who own companies who are not in racing at all, who have nothing to do with racing, don't even know anything about racing, but are interested in getting into it. A lot of these people have no clue what it's about. So a lot of them could care less victory lane or not. They have other marketing initiatives. When they built their company, they didn't build it on just the thought of, okay, I want to go get into racing and win races. Like that's not what they build their company. They don't make money off of that. They
need to sell.
They break money off of selling products. So you as a race car driver, we're going to speak to these companies. You must first, boom, you cannot just speak what you want and say, hey, this is what I'm doing for you and that's it. No, you need to understand their marketing objectives, understand what they're going after. Some companies are like, hey, our goal is just a business to business goal. We don't sell to consumers. I want to connect with McDonald's or Walmart or whoever because they're at races. Like if you can just get me that connection so I can put my product on their shelves and all of a sudden I make millions of dollars for that, that's why I would want to sponsor you. So you have to understand what their initiatives are, and you have to have enough tools and assets on your Batman tool belt that you can provide to make sure that their wants and needs are met. But you got to make sure you have a lot of tools. For me, I can do speaking engagements. We do the appearances, obviously put the names on the race cars, bring people to the events, have VIP stuff for them, do social media stuff. There's all these different things you as a driver have to be capable of doing, and you have to have them all in your tool belt so that you can meet whatever new needs these sponsors are looking for.
That's cool. So how did that sponsorship journey start? So you was in the Navy, obviously, when you decided, right, to go racing, and you're thinking, okay, I'm earning, I don't know, $4 or $5 grand a month, not enough to pay for pickup trucks. Was that the first thing you did?
Yeah. So
tell us how you got that first season or first amount of races paid for.
Yeah. So my first season was in 2015, and I started racing late model stock cars, which is kind of like the lowest level of NASCAR. You don't see it on TV at all. It's just local tracks. And when I started racing these late model stock cars, it was costing us $5,000 per race, and I believe I ran like 10 or so races. In the Navy at that time, I was probably making after taxes maybe $6 to $7 grand a month. So I really spend majority of my paycheck on just one race, or I wouldn't have enough money to pay for rent and food and just living life. So I had to figure out ways to make the extra money. When I was going after sponsors at first, basically my original way of doing it was the typical way, build a sponsorship pitch deck and then just email it out to everyone that I can think of. And I thought that would work. And after maybe about 1,000 emails or so, I got a few answers. Most of those answers were no. And then some of those was like, hey, great deck, but you could probably change it up like this. And by the way, we're not really interested anyways, but we're just trying to help you anyways by helping you out with your deck. And that's about it. I didn't get any yeses. And I was thinking, oh my God, like, how do I get this sponsorship? I'm sending these decks out. I spent so much time. And then I realized, I'm like, if I want to go date a girl, is my first thing that I'm going to do with them just sending them a pitch deck on me, on like why I'm amazing, and they're going to all of a sudden like me and want to date me? No, I need to build a relationship with them. And sometimes the easiest way is by maybe someone else who's a friend of the girl connecting you with them. That warm intro means so much. So I started realizing this is not about sending out decks. It's about building relationships. So then once I started realizing that, all of a sudden I started networking. So I started talking to people who might have friends or connected with people who might have money. And I was thinking, okay, these warm connections are what's going to get me to my sponsorship. I sent 1,000 emails out, got no yeses at all. All of a sudden, I go speak to one person who connects me to another, who connects to me to one more, who connects me to one more, and I get my first sponsorship that covers my season. All because of networking and relationship building. And I was like, wow, I spent all this time on thinking this traditional sending out these pitch decks was going to do it, when really it's relationships. And since then, honestly, I've really gotten away from the pitch decks. The last time I think I've sent out a pitch deck, like a cold call, cold email type pitch deck. I mean, at least probably back in 2015 or 16 or something like that. It's been a long time. It's just been relationships since then.
So the networking, what was this? How did you do that? Was that like a network party? What did it look like? So if people could look for doing the same now, where would they start? Would you say?
Yeah. So, networking events where you go to conferences where people are there that you think could be interested, that would help. Just know that, like, let's say you go to a conference and you don't know anyone there. Obviously, understand that your first intro with whoever you're speaking to is going to be like kind of like a cold call type thing. So you really build that relationship. Find who you can connect with. Find who you think would be potentially interested, and just build a relationship. You got to be able to connect with them on some type of way. A lot of race car drivers are very, very one-sided. They race cars, and that's all they do. Like, they have nothing else to them. You have to have a life outside of racing so you can connect with people, because the people who are going to be paying those bills most likely don't race and do other things in life. And if you can't even connect with them on a conversation and be interesting enough to them outside of the racing stuff, it's gonna be very hard to develop a relationship. It's gonna be very hard to get them to sponsor you. The reason why I got that first sponsor was because I spoke with a guy that did the PR for the Naval Academy as far as for the football team. And we had that relationship on that level where he knew me from football. I knew him from when I was at the academy. He connected me, some of his friends that he connected me to were people who were in the Navy. And then from there, they connected me to a family who weren't in the military, but supported the Navy a lot. So we had that connection right there. They loved veterans. They loved people who were service members. And then from there, that's how that sponsorship happened for. So it was just by having those extra assets, those things, other things I was doing outside of racing, that's what allowed me to be attractive to other people. So race car drivers out there listening to this, understand that a lot of you are all the same, right? A lot of you just come from the same place. You started racing when you're a kid, you've been racing all the way through, and all of the stories are just about the same. You gotta find some way to make your story unique. My story is unique because I'm in the military, I'm African American, and honestly, I never talk about the African American thing. It's pretty obvious. You can't see that. If you just look at me, you can't. You can't see that I'm in the military. So that's my selling point. Find something that becomes your selling point. Find your story. What makes you way more unique and interesting than any other driver? That's your story. That's your selling point.
And they get addicted to your enthusiasm about it. Now, when you're in late model stock, when it's not seen on TV, there's no eyeballs on it, and you've got a few sponsors for that. What were they in it for? Was it your journey to NASCAR that they bought into, or was there anything else that you did for them?
Yeah,
this is for drivers that are in championships that are not very mainstream, basically.
Yeah. So that was the battle right there at first, was like trying to figure out, okay, man, when I'm trying to get these sponsors, what am I selling to them? Because obviously we're not on TV. We don't have big viewership. Yeah, we had 5,000-6,000 people coming to those races at the race, which was pretty good for, cool stuff. But what else are we doing? So what we developed was this plan where we were going to bring wounded vets to the track, and we're going to give them a VIP experience. We're going to put their name on the car. We're going to take them up to a suite, have them there pre-race on the grid with me as a driver. We're going to do just this whole honoring event where we honor this wounded vet and their family at the event. And what we did was we did that through a nonprofit organization. So the sponsor, the fellow who decided to sponsor me for this, instead of him just directly giving me and the team money to pay for the racing, he gave it to this nonprofit organization so that they could spend some of it on this sponsorship, and then they used it to do this event. And all of a sudden now he's helping the nonprofit and he's helping me at the same time. I'm helping the nonprofit, and it all worked out together. But it was finding this creative way to make this sponsorship interesting and actually worthwhile, where many people are getting benefited off of this one thing. So that's why I say you got to be unique. Drivers just think you just put a name on a race car and then that's it. Well, there's a hospitality part of it. There's a figuring out what's the initiatives for, what's the agenda for the sponsor, what do they want? And you have to be able to complement that agenda.
Absolutely. I mean, some drivers literally pay for their racing, if it's not too expensive, just by being this corporate entertainment company. And they obviously, the top salesmen get to come and drive the car, or just do a race school. You go to a race school and you say, right, I'm going to have 10 people, give me a price on giving them a nice experience, a nice lunch, but they get the motor racing experience, and you can even have it branded, with the magnetic stickers on each school car. And the race school will say, right, we'll charge you $8,000 for the day. and you go and charge it out and just go and sell it for 15 to as many companies as you can. And then that 6K or whatever is for your racing. And it's like, and then it's amazing what comes from that, the conversations. Oh, you actually race, do you? And you're just there running the gig. You know, the race school do everything for you. And it's actually, it's hard work because you have to go to companies and sell, saying, you know, this could be for your top clients, or it could be for a product launch. We can actually use it for whatever you want. But things like that, that's a good earner. And if you just do 20 or 10 of them a year, right? 60K towards your racing. Oh my.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's what people have to understand is when you're getting into racing, racing's different than all other sports. You have to be a business-minded race car driver. I mean, business. The moment you hop in that race car, you are hopping in it. Like it's funny when people joke, "Oh, here's my office for the day," and they show a picture of inside the race car. But it's true. That is your office. Like that race vehicle is your office. That's your operation. This is a full-on business. That happens to be a fun one because you get to race and drive fast against other people and go to all these different tracks and places. But it is a business. So yes, it does take that hard work. You got to do the legwork. You got to go knock on some doors. You got to be a sales guy. You have to be the best sales and marketing guy ever. And you got to combine it together so that you can keep this racing alive. Unless you just come from a really rich family, then, you know, obviously
just drive. Just keep driving. But actually, that's the point. I was speaking to a friend of mine who got all his sponsorship, and he went all the way. He became a world touring car champion 4 times. And he was from nothing, you know, living in a caravan to start with. And there's plenty of stories like that. And he said he was like on the pre-grid where everyone, before they go onto the actual track, he had to run up to the hospitality unit, check that the temperature and the coffee was okay for his sponsors, and then run back down and do an F3 race. I think it was Formula 3 back then. And it's that shift from business to race driver. And he said, yeah, it wasn't a perfect balance. So you'd be in the car still worrying about things. So it wasn't perfect. But how do you manage that from being like a driver who can spend all his attention on training, driving, that's it.
Yeah.
Do the business side. Do you find that a difficult challenge?
Yeah, that is difficult. So back in my early years starting to race, like my first couple of years, first 3 years, I would say, I used to do all that stuff myself. I was running around trying to make sure the sponsors were happy, and then all of a sudden jumping in the race car, putting all the graphics myself on the race car, doing all stuff myself. And it's difficult. And then I realized, you know what? Any successful business person has a team around them. So I decided, you know what? For me to really continue to climb up the ranks and do this bigger and better, because the higher I go, the more expensive it gets, the more money I need, probably the bigger companies I'm going to have to do these things for. I'm going to need a team of people around me. So then that's when I hired an agent. His name is Matt Casto. He's been an awesome agent for me. And he basically kind of took over all the sponsorship responsibilities, where he was taking care of finding the sponsors, entertaining sponsors, and making sure we're hitting all the deliverables, and then protecting my brand and helping me build the brand through media in all different types of way. So by doing all that stuff, by having him on board and handling all that, that freed me up to focus a little bit more on the racing side. It doesn't mean that I'm completely hands off from everything, because when we do get on phone with a potential sponsor, I do get on a lot of those calls. I get on at least the initial call, and then he handles everything from there. But you want to let the sponsor know that, hey, the driver is involved. I'm not just the jockey that just hops on the racehorse and then that's it, and then hops off. You never see me again. No, like, I'm going to be involved, and I want to make the sponsor feel like, hey, I do care about them. I do believe in what they have. I do believe in their mission, and I'm here to make sure that the mission excels. So having an agent helps a lot. So their agents charge different types of prices. Some will charge a retainer and a percentage of what they bring in. Some will only charge a percentage of what they bring. It's just a deal you have to work out with that particular agent. There's good ones out there, there's bad ones out there. Beware the bad ones. The good ones will have a true track record and can truly show you, hey, this is what I've done, this is what I've brought, and I can show you. The ones that can't show you anything and don't want to show you anything, don't do anything. And don't pay them a retainer, nothing. Like, find people who actually have a track record of bringing in deals for various types of people, whether they're high profile or not. It's easy to sell sponsorships and endorsements for LeBron James because he's LeBron James. But who's the guys who can sell stuff for the guys who are less known? Those are the ones you want.
What's your chap's company? Is it the sports agency?
The sports agency, yeah.
That's it. Give him a holler.
Yeah, hey, yeah.
There's going to be plenty of drivers after you now, Matt. We just dropped you in it. But yeah, that's brilliant to have someone like that. I mean, I work with one. I'm just starting to join forces with one now. WH Sports, they're called. And the reason I'm doing it is because, yeah, they manage the career of the drivers.
Yeah.
They the teams and negotiate the deals, so they make sure the driver gets the best deal. But on top of that, they're sponsorship agents as well. So on Soccer Tops and the sponsorship there, they get more. They find it easier to sell sponsorship for football and all sorts rather than motorsport.
Yeah.
But they help drivers basically access their network and see if they can do anything with that or with their current sponsors they've got elsewhere to bring them in. And it's like, that's what you call an agency.
Exactly.
So it sounds like your guys are fairly similar as well. It's the sponsorship's the hardest bit. So if you can help drivers do that, then amazing.
Yeah. And having an agent that has a good network, that's the biggest thing too.
Yeah.
But sometimes some people be like, oh, I'll let a family member, my brother, cousin, or uncle be my agent and go out there and try to get stuff. Yeah, but the thing is, if they don't have a good network, it's going to be difficult. Like I was fortunate because my guy has a great network. He's a networking king. He's believed in networking since the last 20 years of his life. And he's just built such a great network that his people in his network have connect. Like a lot of our stuff that we've gotten have been because of people he has in his network connecting us, believing in him, believing in me, and being like, you know what, I know somebody that can potentially help you, and just continue to bring us along. We've had stuff that's come along because of just randomly they see me connected with a big company. All of a sudden they're like, you know what, I want to be part of it. If that big company believes in him, then I need to believe in him too. So it all helps out, but it all starts with network. You got to have that network. That's what makes the world go round. And
see them, not just be this proposal that arrives, this brochure that arrives in the post. Yeah, they get like 10 a day. It's
exactly. They get thrown away. They get thrown away.
So then you went, because I don't want to keep you too long, obviously. Then you went from late model, stepped up.
Yeah, so stepped up from late models to the NASCAR K&N series, which is more of a regional series. So late models just run locally at a local track, and they run those basically every single week, every other week. NASCAR K&N series, which is above that, which is now called the ARCA series. That series runs regionally. So we run at different tracks that are kind of like those local tracks, but all spread out throughout the West or the East. And then from there, you step up to the middle level ARCA series, which is more of a national series where you run at some of the big NASCAR tracks and then in some of the small local tracks. And then from there, hopped up into the NASCAR Truck Series, which is the first step in the national series of NASCAR. That's where you're really on TV a lot, national TV, live TV, Fox Sports 1. I'm sure a lot of people have seen NASCAR Trucks racing. And then from NASCAR Trucks, I've now hopped into the NASCAR Xfinity Series, which is the second highest level of NASCAR. I'm only races in, finished all three races, ran all three races, finished about mid-pack each race. Still learning a lot. Obviously, I'm not the fastest out there, not the best out there. I'm still learning. 5 years of racing experience versus people who have like 15, 20 years of racing experience.
What would you say now? We're getting honest, because everyone can be. What would you say now you've got to improve to make another jump in your performance? Because this is what's more interesting to me, obviously.
Yeah. So for me to continue to get better, obviously the funding side helps. The teams that I'm on, they're great teams, good, hardworking teams. They don't have the same level of budget as the bigger teams do that we race against. Yep. The big teams that we race against literally are spending, sometimes, 5, 6, 7, 8 times more than what these smaller teams are. I'm on a smaller team. Some of them are spending even more than that. But, once I think we get our budget even higher, we'll be able to buy all the sets of tires that we get in a race. We'll be able to get even better bodies for the race cars. We'll get newer chassis. It won't be like the older chassis that's coming down from the bigger teams. Will be actually brand new chassis, brand new brakes and the better motors. The ones that cost $40,000-$50,000 per race to rent instead of the ones that cost way less than that.
Wow, this is just tenths of a second going, isn't it?
Exactly. All that stuff together helps. And then on me, I obviously have more experience to gain as a race car driver. I've always been more of throughout this journey more of a conservative type driver. I'm not out there to just go balls to the wall every single lap and end up wrecking it for no reason because I don't know what I'm doing yet. I'm more of a guy who just takes the more smart and wise and conservative approach where I know that, hey, I'm learning. I'm not going to go win this race right now. Not with equipment that we have and my experience that we have, I'm not going to go win the race. But I do know if I can go at least finish, that I can get all the laps in, I can continue to learn, and eventually get the budget where we need, then we can eventually be competing for top 10s, top 5s, and then eventually some wins.
Okay, perfect. That's really good. And it is very different when you're out there. I mean, I've only driven, we used to call it NASCAR in England. So just take the N off, and it's smaller than that. I think it's kind of late model, probably a bit bigger. Yeah. And just the spatial awareness you need in that thing, how close you are to the wall when you can hear the wall echoing. Because I'm used to single seaters and things like this on track. It was a whole new science, and you don't know where the limit is, because you're going through, you think maybe that's it, but someone could tell you, believe it or not, you can take 10 mile an hour through there through turn 4 more. And you're like, okay, because you just don't. It's not like a normal car where you can start to feel it. Not when you're a novice, anyway. Sorry. It's just you've got it, and then all of a sudden it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
Too late.
Exactly. And imagine doing that at 170, 180, 190 miles per hour.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the big shock. So you were very nervous when you first started, then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. It was very nerve wracking, and you always get nervous before every race because you don't know what's going to happen. At the end of the day, I just want to finish each race right now, keep learning. Eventually, I'll be pushing harder and throwing my nose in there a little bit more. But for right now, I just got to focus on just finishing as many races as possible, because that's the only way I'm going to learn. If I'm getting knocked out 5-10 laps into a race, I'm never going to learn. I'm just spinning money for no reason.
We're looking forward to seeing that. One more question. What's the kind of price structure? So you go from late model, what's a season in that? And then as you step up, what's the kind of money you have to keep bringing, just so drivers can kind of know?
Yeah. So in late models, the team that I was with, which was, I would say, at that time, probably one of the better teams. It was about $5,000 per race.
How many races?
I think it's around 15 races or so, somewhere in that range.
Yep.
15 races. So about $5,000 per race. And that was on one of the better teams. I think the best team that was running at that time was about $7,500 per race. You go on a lower team for probably about $2,500 per race. And that's late models. Moving up to the NASCAR K&N series, which is now called the ARCA West and ARCA East. Those, depending on from the low end, probably 10 grand per race. On the higher end, up to about 80 grand per race.
Now we're talking.
And there's about 14, I believe, races per season there. Once you move to the now from ARCA to the NASCAR Truck Series, which is now the first step in the national series of NASCAR, you're probably in the range of anywhere from 15 grand per race on the low end, all the way up to $150,000 per race on the high end. Yeah, and that 150 per race will put you on a team that you have the opportunity to actually go win the race. Okay. So and not that only the 150 per race guys can only win. I mean, there's guys who are winning about 50 grand a race who can actually go win too. It's just the 150 guys usually have the best opportunity. Now moving on to the NASCAR Xfinity Series, I would say on the lowest end, probably like 30 grand or so per race on the lowest end. You're really just bare bonesing it. All the way up to $225,000 per race in the Xfinity Series level.
Jeez, mate, that's unbelievable.
Then once you get to the Cup Series level, Cup Series on the lowest end, about $100,000 a race, all the way to the highest end, like $800,000 per race. And the $800,000, I think, is more because usually the drivers on those teams they command a pretty big salary, so that's why it's $800,000. So maybe it's more of, if you decided that you didn't want to get paid $10 million a year and you could get paid a lot less, maybe it would be 400, 500 grand per race or something like that.
So most of the drivers in the Cup Series, they're being paid, right? Most of them.
For the most part, most of them are being paid, and they're paid out of the sponsorship. So if no sponsorship, maybe they can still get paid, just not that much. If there's a lot of sponsorship, then they're getting paid pretty good.
And the prize money is good all the way up from even late model, right? You can still get prize money.
There's prize money on any series all the way up. Usually the prize money is about a third or so or a quarter of what the actual cost is for that team to go race. So, like if you win the race, you're most likely spending 3 to 4 times the amount of what the prize money actually is to go win it. And there's some people who get fortunate who don't have to spend that much and can still go win a race. It's just with how things are in motorsports, it's always about who's going to spend more to get a little bit faster. So that's why these costs have driven up. The cost shouldn't be where they're at. They all should be where you can still make money off of the prize money. That's where it should be. But, you know, people want to win, so they'll out the next person to win.
It's the same in Formula racing. On the F1 route, it is like it's getting towards €1 million now for F3. F2, which is obviously just under F1, that's 2 mil. I mean, you can pay less. It just depends if you got a deal, but really it's about there. And then F1, you need the luck of the gods, or you need 10 mil in the back pocket, and you need to be fast. So it's gone crazy. But the teams are not actually earning that much money. Someone is, but it's not the teams. So it's you can't blame them. You know, they're in it for the same reason we are. But that's motorsport. So you got to keep bringing it in. Is there anything, just before you go, is there anything you want to just leave us with? A word of advice for the kids that are out there?
Yeah, for the people out there listening to this, you know, keep chasing your dreams. Understand that it will be difficult. But, you know, I tell people the steps to success is, one, have a vision, like in your mind, see yourself being what you want to become. Like if you have a clear God-given vision in your mind, it's not just some crap you just made up randomly one day. Like it's actually a vision that you continuously every day see yourself becoming. That means it was meant to be. And because it was meant to be, it's on you to take actionable steps every single day to make it happen. Not just Monday, Tuesday, not just send an email here or there. Every day, find a new way to try to connect with the next person, try to network, try to do this, try to get more seat time, get more simulator time, whatever you're doing every single day to try to just get better at your overall craft, not just racing, but the business side too, that you can continue to propel your journey. Understand that it's hard. It's not easy. There's going to be a lot of dark days, but remember, even in the darkest point of the night, the sun will rise. So have faith that when you're walking through this super dark tunnel, that eventually light will come. The people who stay strong enough, long enough, are the ones who will get to that light. So keep walking in that dark tunnel and understand that light's coming. It's coming. It's coming. It might not happen today. It might not happen tomorrow. It might not happen next month. It might take 5 years. I don't know. But if you already had that clear, concise vision in your mind, seeing yourself becoming what you want to be, understand that light will come. Stay strong enough, long enough, and along through the whole journey, understand that you're not in it alone. There's other people who are in journeys in their life trying to get to wherever they're trying to go to, whether it's racing, business world, somewhere in their job, their family, whatever. They have a goal, they have things they want to do. They might reach out to you for help. Don't deny people this help. Spend time, help others. Because the more you help others achieve their dreams, your dreams will come true too. God will people in your life that need help for some reason in some other way. And maybe it's going to detract you a little bit from what you're doing for, maybe a few minutes or an hour or so, but just do your little part to help people. Somebody reaches out to you to ask a question about something. Maybe they're looking up to you. Help that person. People ask me, I get 40 to 60 DMs a day throughout all my social medias every single day. And usually between 24 to 48 hours, I'm answering a lot of these.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I try and get to them all. I really do.
Yeah. And people are asking random questions about different things. They need help with this, help with that. Obviously, you're not going to be able to save the world. I'm not saying, every person on the corner who's homeless, who's asking for money, you got to give them all your money. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is if people need honest help, just do your part to try to help them. You don't always have to give them the fish, but you can find a way to teach them how to fish so that they don't ever need your help again. And when you can do that stuff, the more life's going to get good for you, and eventually you're going to achieve your dreams and goals. So never let anyone's opinion of you become your reality, and stay strong enough, long enough, and you'll make it to your dream.
100%. And we're all touched. People have seen it when you visited the kid who was suffering from cancer. Obviously, that was beautiful, mate. Absolutely beautiful when you went to the bed. It's things like that. So yeah, I really hear it. And thanks for everything you're doing. And we all wish you the best of luck, because it is a journey. So we'll all be watching. So everybody, you got YouTube channel. Everyone can find you there. I'll put the details on the bottom so they can see it and follow you. But thanks for coming along, mate.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can't stop me now.